Making a face mask just got even easier. Hi, it's Jan Howell from YouMakeItSimple.com. The beautiful thing about this face mask is there's no making pleats. A simple cinched method that I'm going to teach you. Let's get started. Let's just first go over quickly the things that you'll need for the project. My favorite thing is an upcycled t-shirt, really soft on your face. You can use a t-shirt, regular woven fabric, cotton fabric, and this is just a pillowcase that I have made a few masks with. So gather up your fabric or your material. You'll also need a few strips of, for the ties, strips of stretchy material. You can use t-shirts, tights, lots of different things. You can go over my tutorial that I have specifically for face mask ties. That's really helpful. Pair of scissors or a rotary cutter, if you have one, is nice. And just a simple twisty tie from your bags, or you can use a pipe cleaner, a safety pin, and these little fabric clips come in handy. Not necessary, you can use pins if you want to, but they come in handy. You'll just need a couple of those. If you're using fabric, just cut a piece of fabric 16.5 inches square. If you're using your t-shirt, as you can see, I've already cut off and used the front portion for another mask. But what you'll do is just cut off the bottom 16.5 inches, leave the bottom cuff. This is what is really nice. So leave 16.5 inches by 16.5 wide. So most t-shirts will have enough of that fabric, but you don't want it bigger, so 16.5 inches wide as well. Cut that to that measurement. As you can see, you'll get 2 masks out of a t-shirt. So there you have your 16.5 square piece of knit. I've cut my 1 inch piece of this. These are actually leggings, stretchy fabric, and pulled them to make the ties. See how they stay curled? So I pulled them. Fold your fabric in half, line up the edges, and we're going to sew from this edge to this edge 1/4 inch from the seam, making a tube. Backstitch at the beginning and end of your seam. So if you had a serger, you could also use the serger. We have a seam. We're going to open this tube up, bring the wrong sides together, turn it inside out. So the right side is on the outside. And to finish off these bottom edges, we're going to fold the edges under 1/4 inch and press. Just do that all the way around, folding that seam flat. We're going to turn it wrong sides together to form a double tube. Line up your edges and the seam and press. And we'll take it to the sewing machine and just sew all the way around, top stitching, to sew those bottom edges together. So I have finished the edges off. So to apply the nose clip, take your twisty ties that I've folded in, I've doubled up, place it centered on the top of the mask. This is the folded edge, down about 1/4 inch, sandwich between, and then clip it in place with your fabric clip. To secure the tie in place, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and make a little casing around that wire, and you can feel with your fingers where that is. If you feel like you need to pin it so you can tell where that is, you can, but you can usually just feel it. We'll take it to the sewing machine and sew that. While we're there, we're going to make a casing for the ties on the side of the mask by sewing just a straight stitch 1/2 inch from the edge down the sides. I'm going to find the edge of that wire with my finger and just bring my needle and my presser foot down on top of that. You can use pipe cleaner if you want to as well. I recommend, if you use pipe cleaner, to fold the ends over really tight so they don't poke out into the fabric and then into your skin. So I've folded the pipe cleaner over the edges. Take a few stitches, back stitching, of course. Come down about 1/4 of an inch, leave your needle in, lift up your presser foot and pivot. And we're going to sew down along the edge of that wire there. When I can tell I'm at the edge of the wire, I'm going to leave my needle in, lift up my presser foot, flip it, and take another stitch, a couple stitches, just inside of the fabric because we're going to top stitch. Now just on the inside. And back stitch. So we've made a little casing in there, so when you wash your mask, it will stay in place. Now we're going to sew the side seams for the casings for the ties. I'm coming out a 1/2 inch, back stitch, and flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. So I've sewn down the edges to make the casing for the ties. I have cut my ties, stretched them, and so they're curled and ready. These are going to be just 2 separate ties. If you want the continuous strip, you can do that. If you want the continuous strip but don't have a piece long enough, you can sew the 2 ends together, placing the right sides together and then just making a seam there. So when it opens up, it will be a continuous seam. So just a tip when you're cutting your strips for your ties from a t-shirt, we're cutting a 1-inch strip. And some people have asked, well, why don't you just leave it one continuous strip and have a really long piece? Well, you can do that, but you'll need to secure the seam. You'll need to stitch it again, because if you don't, as you can see, this stitch will come undone, and then it'll come apart. So you have to, if you are using the continuous loop of fabric, you'll need to secure, when you cut it, secure the seam. So I hope that was helpful. Take your safety pin and apply it to the bottom of one of the straps and just insert it into the mask. Pull it out. We want to cinch this area, so when I pull on this, see how that cinches up really nicely. We want to cinch that up so it's 4 inches. To keep it centered, I'm going to grab the ends of my ties and then cinch it. Take my seam gauge or a ruler or something so you can measure 4 inches and then clip it in place or pin it in place. And do the same thing for the other side. So we're just about finished. Now to secure the ties in place so it doesn't come ungathered, you can take it to, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and just tack down those ties in place and do it for all 4 corners. So there you have your mask. This bottom opens up and you have that pocket in there if you wanted to add your filter. 4 layers, a great mask, comfortable. Let's see how it fits. Got my nose wire, clamp that on. Tuck it under my chin, pull it up behind my neck. So comfortable. Really nice coverage, 4 layers of protection, place for a filter if you wanted it. Hand sewing, sewing machine, you choose your method. Lots of different ways to accommodate making a mask. Let me know if you have any questions. Stay tuned for upcoming tutorials and classes, and we'll see you next time.